cross-court pass to Trey Smith. Trey from downtown, got it. Wants a screen, he'll go the other way, find A.O. Aaron from downtown, got it. The Moose is loose.
Mid center court with Charlie Ernst on 88.3 WLFC.
Tommy, left side, little stutter step, driving the lane, scoop the hoop, left hand, got it again. High ball screen, back top of the key, backdoor pass ahead, and slam it home. Alex White, that's his second slam.
Join Coach Ernst and the Oilers on-air team as they take a look back at the week that was, discuss what's happening around the conference, and preview the week ahead.
Oilers win it, and what a game here in Croy, and a tremendous victory for the Orange and Black.
And now, let's join men's basketball head coach Charlie Ernst and the voice of Oiler basketball, Jason Granger.
Hello and welcome to Center Court with Charlie Ernst. My name's Jason Granger, and pleased to welcome in the coach. And Coach, two nice victories at home. Really good games for the fans because they were close, especially that game on Thursday, Malone game. You guys really led throughout. Got a little dicey at the end, but still two league victories against quality opponents.
Well, as a coach, you can't be happier than that. I mean, it's not easy to get wins in this conference. Those are two good teams, two teams that it seems like a lot of schools you raise their level of play when they come to Findlay, and I think maybe the reputation of our program brings out the best in people. I think our atmosphere at Findlay brings out the best of people, and it seems that when you go back over the years, a lot of teams play good basketball here, and I think Walsh and Malone are two more examples of that. So I tip my hat to both of them. I thought both of them played well. But ultimately, we found a way to get the win, and that's the important thing.
Well, I was just going to talk about that. You know, we've been, ever since our national championship, and really before that, back with the regional runs, we always seem to get everybody's best, and it's something that's been carried down to the players over and over again. And that's something I'm impressed with this young group, that I believe they're really understanding that every day, and we're seeing some other teams around the Ferris is starting to understand that as well, that every day you're going to get the other team's best because they're looking at it's Findlay that they're playing, and regardless of who's on the floor for Findlay.
You know, I don't remember many games over the years where I felt like, well, that opponent just sort of showed up today. It seems like we always get everyone's best shot, and you know, it makes us better. It makes us coaches better. It makes our program better, and it prepares us well for the postseason. And I think that's part of the reason we've had, you know, strong postseason runs, is because I feel like our players are very well prepared for whatever occurs within a game. And sometimes in the postseason, whether that be the conference tournament or the regional, you see a lot of different styles of play, a lot of different things, and I feel like our team is pretty well prepared. So there are a lot of positives that come from that, and you know, but like I said, we made the plays that we needed to make late in both games, which is good for our growth as a team, and hopefully we can carry that momentum forward and really get to be a team that learns how to win close games.
Let's talk about the Walsh game. Ended up getting a 1-point victory over Walsh. 15 lead changes in that ball game, and you know, the Moose was really loose all weekend and had a great game on Thursday. He stayed out of foul trouble. He rebounded and hit some big shots throughout that game.
Well, Aaron is, and I've said this many times, you know, he's truly a self-made player in a lot of ways. He puts a tremendous amount of time in the gym, and when he comes in, he just doesn't casually go about his business. He is all business. Each and every time he steps foot on the floor, even if it's 20 minutes before practice, you know, he's spinning the ball to himself and making dribble moves and post moves at game speed. And it's a rare commodity that he possesses, and it's part of the reason he's become such a good player. And I know in some people's eyes, this kid's come out of nowhere. Maybe he lacked some confidence early in his career, and we were bringing him along slowly. The school that he went to in Michigan was a very small school. He had a lot to learn, especially on the defensive end of the floor, and you know, it's just been a joy to watch his progression as a player because he's such a likable kid. And you always hope that kids that put in that kind of time, they get a payoff, and he's certainly getting that.
He sure is. Had a great game, 23 points, 12 rebounds. I his guy inside, Alex White, 12 points, 12 rebounds, and I'm sure Alex isn't overly happy with shooting 5 for 15. Missed a number of little shots around the rim, but those shots are harder than what they look. They're highly contested, highly physical, but Alex continues to be a force inside, rebounding the basketball, great defender as well. He had 3 blocks.
Well, I was reflecting on Alex over the weekend after our Malone game and thinking to myself, I wonder where he stands on the all-time shots block board here at Findlay. He's got to be getting close to the top. He's a 4-year player, played in a lot of games, and he blocks a lot of shots. So, in terms of his offense in that Walsh game, they made the decision they were just going to totally pack the lane and make every shot that he took contested by 2, 3, 4 guys on some occasions. And we probably threw it inside too much. And our bigs didn't throw it out enough. It was a combination of both things. And so that was a learning experience. I'm sure it won't be the last time we see that style of defense. And when we do, we're going to be better off because of it, because I think we learned some things, what we have to do. And so while he went 5 of 15, he did miss a couple putbacks, as did a lot of guys. I think the biggest thing is he tried to carry this team through a rough stretch in the second half and probably forced a couple really tough shots. And hopefully we'll learn from that. And in some games, throwing it inside to him will be an opportunity for him to rack up 6, 7, 8 assists in a game, and I think that's on the horizon as well.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you got 2 great seniors on this team. I think have been overlooked probably for 4 years because they've had great seniors in front of them, and Alex certainly one of them. The other one is Trey Smith, and Trey 14 points in the Walsh game, but I thought it was one of his better games because you needed some big buckets throughout that game. He had a huge 3, I think, when you were down 4 to get you within 1. Of course, then. I'm not sure if the inbounds play was designed for Trey immediately, but he did get the ball in the corner, gets fouled, makes 2 foul shots, and the 2 seniors in this game is really what stuck out, especially Trey Smith.
Well, you're exactly right. Both neat stories, but Trey, I think the thing with Trey is he's always been a gutsy player, and people notice those guts on the defensive end, but he's always been a gutsy offensive player, a kid that's never been afraid to take tough shots at big moments, even when he was coming off the bench. That's always been his thing. I remember his sophomore year, I'm sure you remember it, Jason, at Bellarmine in the regional final. I think he had 12 points in that game and was really one of the bright spots of the game, but tough atmosphere against a really good opponent, and he was not afraid of the moment one bit. And I think I'm seeing that this season now that he's a senior. This is not the first game where he has stepped up and taken some big shots. He hit a big 3 in this game to tie it up, and then, of course, got fouled on that inbounds play. And he was option 1A, and we had Aaron on a roll as option 1B. But Tommy made the right read, got it to Trey, and he clearly got fouled on the shot. Almost had a 3-point play, but then had to go to the line and make 2 clutch free throws and walk there and calmly shank both of them. So a great finish for Trey, and just what you hope that you get from seniors.
Look at the game, winning by 1. I think there's some Findlay fans that might have looked at it and said, well, it was Oilers got away with 1 there at home. But I guess I looked at it differently from the standpoint of I think this might be the recipe or the formula to win future games because we hold a great offensive team in Walsh to 66 points. Now, we didn't shoot it well, but that's going to happen, I think, with this team from time to time. But I think this is kind of how we have to play. We have to be able to defend at a high level, and we certainly did on Thursday.
Well, ironically enough, I spent Monday with the team after our Cedarville loss talking about, we've kind of gotten away from the identity we thought we would have coming into the season. I thought that we would be a team that would have to ride our defense for the first half of the year. Our offense would come along slowly, and we would win games with defense and rebounding. And, from the second half of the Truman State game on, we operated offensively and shot the ball even better than any of us expected. scored over 100 points at least once, regularly in the 90s, high 80s, leading the GMAC in a lot of offensive categories. I think the Cedarville game, and really even the Tiffin game, were illustrations of maybe we kind of lost our identity in terms of how good we could be on defense. We were kind of a team outscoring people. And, I knew that would catch back up to us at some point. And in the Cedarville game, we did not shoot it well. Really didn't play very well against that zone. But we still could have won the game if our defense would have been where it was or where it needed to be. And so I challenged the guys. If we have another bad shooting night, we've got to be able to win a basketball game even on a day when we don't shoot it well. And sure enough, 4 days later, we had one of those games against Walsh. We could not make much in the first half. We had a lot of opportunity. Had 14 offensive rebounds at, I think, 15 at halftime, and only had 29 points. That's like unheard of. But the key was they only had 27 points. So it happened quick. We still found a way to win when our offense didn't have a great night.
Yeah, it was a great victory in Croy, winning by one there. And I do want to talk a little bit about Walsh because it's an interesting schedule. We don't have to go play Walsh again, which is huge because I think they're a good team, and they showed it the very next time they played, beating Hillsdale at Hillsdale. So this is a big win early on, and they have some outstanding players and probably a Freshman of the Year candidate in JT Shoemate.
Well, we have seen some awfully good freshmen already this year. Cedarville's got a couple, and obviously JT Shoemate from Walsh is having an excellent year. He made some ridiculously tough shots against us, and that's a credit to our defense because in some ways that's about all they were left with. They had to make some really tough shots, and he led the way, and he's a very good player, better than I even thought. Tough matchup. But you mentioned, we only play Walsh and Malone once. And there's 4 teams that each school in the GMAC only plays one time this year. And for us, it's Walsh and Malone, which is a little bit odd. And so it put a big emphasis on these games for that very reason. I told the guys from the outset this last week that, we only play these teams once. We have to beat them because we don't want those losses to be tiebreaker differences at the end of the season. And so we did what we needed to do. And I'm not even sure outside of us in Hillsdale who those schools don't play a second time. But, we did what we needed to do. That was the important thing.
Certainly did. Got the victory, got the 7th win of the season, and then turn our focus to Malone when we return on center court.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
I know.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey everyone, let's all stop what we're doing and take a moment. You see? Every moment can be kind of special. But they could be loud moments, goofy moments, dorky moments, it doesn't matter. Because every time dads like us take a moment like that to spend with our kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's take a moment to make a moment. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
This message is for all of you sitting in the passenger seat. And apologies if it gets a little uncomfortable, but how does it feel to be at the mercy of someone who thinks a random text is more important than your life? Someone who takes their eyes off the road while speeding along in a 3-ton hunk of steel. Freaky, right? Well, why not just ask them to stop? Or better yet, volunteer to text for them. It might be a little awkward, but believe me, you'll live.
Learn more at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Cross-court pass to Trey Smith. Trey from downtown got it.
Saturday afternoon, your Oiler basketball teams finish their homestand as they take on the Storm from Lake Erie College.
Fricky line to lane. Throw it up with the right hand. Bucket's good. Dana Fricky.
Jason Granger will have all the action from Croy Physical Education Center. Women's pregame at 12:40, tip-off at 1 o'clock, men's game immediately following.
Aaron from downtown got it. The Moose is loose.
This is your home for Oiler basketball, 88.3 WLFC.
Welcome back to Center Court. Jason Granger here with you. And again, talking with Charlie Ernst. And Coach, you look at that Malone game, you get the tough, hard-fought victory over Walsh. You have to have a quick turnaround. And we talked about it in the pregame. Malone always plays well here in Croy, and they're well coached. They come in with kind of a nothing-to-lose attitude. And this was a weird game because I felt like we really had control throughout the entire game, and then got up by 16 points. The lead went back and forth between 6 and 8. But to Malone's credit, they battled back. I think they tied it with under a couple minutes to play and made it close down the stretch. But we got some big plays from our seniors again to pull away.
Yeah, first off, in terms of that game, I have to tip my hat to Malone and Casey Kaufman, their head coach. These guys always play us really tough, and he just does a good job with his players, with their execution, their belief. And I think most importantly, they're a dangerous team because of what you just said. They come in here with sort of a nothing-to-lose attitude. And, man, those teams are dangerous. And we had control. We played good basketball for a good part of this game. I'm not exactly sure that it's any one thing that created the run by them late in the game. I think it was a combination of things. I thought they made a couple tough shots. We kind of went dry on the offensive end, and that's a surprise to me because I thought that we should have been fresh late in the game. You're hoping that just the opposite happens, that we kind of wear a team down. I just haven't seen that happen, or at least didn't see it happen on Saturday. And, we just couldn't string enough momentum together with defensive stops, especially through that stretch of about the 8-minute mark left in the game, or maybe 10-minute mark to like the 4-minute mark. They had a high efficiency rating on the offensive end during that 6-minute stretch of basketball. And we had like a 15-point lead with about 10 minutes to play in the game, and they just slowly whittled that thing down to maybe 1 point. It might have been tied. I'm not sure if they ever did tie it or if it got as close as 1. But we did get defensive stops inside of a minute to play. I think that's the way you have to finish teams off. You do it with your defense. Oftentimes people think it's big shots. Yeah, you have to make shots to keep a lead, but you can demoralize a team with your defense. And we're close, but we just seem to have breakdowns. Some of them are too much hustle, like bad hustle, a bad gamble at a loose ball, or a freak missed shot. Instead of it hitting the rim, it's an air ball, and it goes off of our hands and into one of theirs for a layup. I mean, it's just like we just can't quite get those stops strung together at that key time to put a team like Malone away before it gets inside of a minute. So something we got to just keep working on. That's all I know. We got to keep working at it, and hopefully we can put some of these teams away before it comes down to the last minute.
They had some kids hit some big shots. Bryce Butler has 26, and Jarrett Majestic seemed to, every shot he threw up seemed to go in. He was actually 5 of 9. Those were all 3. But I do want to start on the offensive side of things, because throughout the game I really felt like that we played a good game offensively. I was surprised to see we only shot 45%, but I think we had a couple guys struggle. But for the most part, it was really good shooting wise. But I believe we had 20 assists on 29 field goals, and that's a pretty high number.
Yeah, and the other thing that we look at in that, in terms of that stat, is 20 assists to 5 turnovers. And anytime you can go 4-to-1 ratio, you're really excited about that. Last year's team did that on numerous occasions. We did not. We were a very efficient team when it came to taking care of the ball. This year, the turnover bugaboo has hurt us in a few games. Now here recently, against Malone, we only had 5 turnovers, and against Walsh we had 8. So we had 13 turnovers in those 2 games combined, which is an average of less than 7 turnovers, and you can win a lot of games doing that. And so that was a good sign, and certainly the 20 assists is another big number. And Tommy's been a guy that's distributed it, but I thought in that game we did a good job all around. They're a team that likes to double the post, and we were prepared for it on one day's notice. And I thought our guys did a good job of sharing the ball. We made a lot of extra passes. And as you mentioned, I thought we shot it better too. But, I think that can be a little bit deceiving. I think, Tommy struggled a little bit to finish shots. He had some open shots that just didn't go in. And we got to get him back to shooting the ball like he did early in the year, because if we can do that, our efficiency rating on offense is going to go way up.
It certainly will. And, Alex was unbelievable in this game. And, I talked about in the first half that I felt like he was just off a hair in the first half. He missed a couple chippies around the rim. He was maybe a little step slow a couple times, but whatever, something clicked at halftime. And he came out. I'm not sure exactly how many points he had in the second half, but it was a lot. He ended up 28 total and 13 rebounds, 6 blocks, and it seemed like we just kept going back down to him. And when you needed a big play, a big block, whatever it was, Alex came through, and he had a senior moment on Saturday.
Well, that's about as good all-around effort as I've seen out of a player in a long time. 3 assists and 0 turnovers on top of that. But he's just, he's added so much to his game from an offensive standpoint. He kind of played his role the first 3 years of his career. Tremendous defensive player, always been a very good rebounder. That goes back to high school. He's still the all-time leading rebounder in Lakota East history, which says a lot because they've had tremendous players there. And we're seeing why here over the last 2 years. And then now, as a senior, he knows he's had to shoulder the load from an offensive standpoint. And what makes me most proud is that he's mostly doing it within 8 to 10 feet of the rim, because that's playing to your strengths. Can he make a 3? Of course, and he made a big one in this game. But I think when he gets away from what he's good at, it's when he takes too many, facing jump shots, especially from the three-point line, because that's not really playing to his strengths. I think he's one of the toughest back-to-the-basket players in this league, maybe in this region. And so for either of us to go away from that would be a big mistake. But he's been working extremely hard in practice. So to see this does not surprise me one bit, and we needed all of it on Saturday.
Certainly did. Big game from Alex White, and certainly I expect him to be GMAC Player of the Week. Unless maybe there's somebody out there had a better week, it'd be hard to believe it. Another good performance was Anthony Masterlasco. Was happy to see him have he had a really good first half. He didn't have much from him in the second from a scoring standpoint, but I thought he was out there doing what he needed to do defensively. But Anthony's been struggling the last couple games. Yeah, I think he had a ball game where he didn't score, maybe had just 2 points. And Anthony is a player, when he's playing free, he's running up and down the floor, he's not thinking too much. He's a great player, and I think he's starting to get back to the Anthony Masterlasco we saw the first couple of games.
Well, he this past week, he was a prime example of what my message was to the entire team, and that is, he probably spent the weekend after the Cedarville game, lamenting and worrying about his lack of production on offense. And then he comes to practice on Monday, and coach spent the whole day on him about his defense. And, he's not the first player, won't be the last player like that. But really what I want to see from him is to really expect more from himself on defense. Be more of a disruptive defender, capable of guarding any position on the floor, really, and maybe outside of the center position. And I think he's now a guy that's just kind of happy to stay in front of his matchup. I want more from him, and that's what I'm really pushing for, because my belief is if you focus on that, he's a natural offensive player. I am not worried one bit about his offense. Players worry a lot more about their offense than the coach does in most cases, and his game's going to go to another level when his defense can match his offense. His offense will take care of itself. He's put a lot of time in on that end of the floor, and he's got a lot of natural ability.
He sure does. And before we finish up this game, do you want to get a comment about the bench play? Because Chaz George, his minutes continue to go up. 17 minutes. He must be doing a heck of a job in practice, and because we're seeing him do some nice things in the game, especially on the defensive end. And I caught him a couple times asking to guard Shepard, asking to guard the best player, and that's something I don't believe we would have heard a couple years ago. And then Cat Singleton, it was good to see Cat, start to get back to him, how he knows how to play. Those two guys, I thought, gave you a big lift off the bench.
Well, really, they were big in both games this week. And our bench has been key all year, but without a doubt, they give us a different look, a versatility, experience that most teams don't have the luxury of having when they go to their bench. So Chaz has been playing better basketball each and every day, and I think he's a great example of carrying momentum from one game to the next, coming to practice every day with a real energy and zest, not only to go hard, but to keep his ears open and to take criticism the right way, listen to what's being told, and then go out and do it. And I've been trying to reward him, not just reward him, but he's doing a good job. And so really him and Anthony have kind of split that position up almost 1-to-1 now. And we keep both those guys fresh. I think collectively, really over the last couple weeks, we've been getting collectively anywhere from 14 to 16 points, 8 to 9 rebounds, 4 or 5 assists, and anytime you can get that collectively, you'll take it. And and I only expect that production to go up. Besides, both he and Anthony have the versatility to bump over and play the 4 on offense, but maybe more importantly, be able to guard 4. So again, it gives us great versatility. You mentioned Cat. He's a guy that we just need more from him on offense. We know what he can give us in other parts. I thought this week he got more aggressive, especially in that Malone game. But I saw even some signs against Walsh. So, getting him to be more in attack mode on offense is a good thing for us.
It certainly is. There's 2 victories this week, and now get some time to rest. No Thursday game this week, and you get on Saturday, you get Lake Erie, and Lake Erie should be one of the better teams in the conference this year. They can return a number of players from an experienced group. They have some guys that can really score offensively. They play sound defense. They're well coached, and they are like Malone are another team that always plays us well over here in Croy.
Yeah, they have. The last couple years, Kyle, Coach Conley, has brought his team over here, and they have played very well. I think they really enjoy their trip to Findlay because of atmosphere. They don't have a great atmosphere there, but when they come here, they seem to be, well prepared, motivated, whatever terms you want to use. And not to mention, Kyle's done a tremendous job of recruiting the right players for Lake Erie College, and they have veteran experience. Maybe the most veteran team in this league this year. When you go back to what they had last year and who they returned, this was a team many of our fans remember came to the GMAC tournament a year ago, got to the semifinals and lost a tough, hard-fought game to Hillsdale, and it's virtually the same team. And so they came into the season with high expectations, and they're playing like it. I think we're fortunate in that we only have them this week, so we've got a full week to rest and prepare and get through finals and get our bodies rested. I believe that they play on Thursday at Hillsdale and then come here on Saturday, so that certainly should be an advantage for us. But I expect a really tough game from Lake Erie on Saturday.
Yeah, it should be a great one. 3 o'clock start on Saturday, and then do want to make mention of the game on Sunday, an exhibition game against Bowling Green. Of course, Austin Gardner is a graduate assistant up there, so we get to go up there and kind of a unique spot. I can't remember an exhibition game at this point in the season, so a little bit different, but still a good opportunity to go up and play BG.
Yeah, and for our fans, out there that are wondering about that game. So it was a game that got put together late. I already had our schedule done. They needed a game late and contacted me. It was an opportunity that I didn't want to turn down. But because of the timing, I didn't want to have to go back and go to schools that have already contracted to play us this year. So I went ahead and you're allowed 3 exhibitions or scrimmages. Most teams do it in the preseason. I went ahead and canceled one of those and added this as an exhibition game late. Now the key is it's a countable game for Bowling Green. So this counts as one of their allotted number of regular season games that they have to play. So both teams are going to be playing this game to win. This is not to say preseason exhibitions you play to lose, but you might be more relative to use your bench in a preseason game. That this is not the case in this game. So it's a big game for us because it'll be the next game on our schedule. We're going to treat it like a regular season game, and obviously they are. So it would be a great opportunity for our guys. Our main focus is on Lake Erie because that's a conference game. And then after we get past that, because of the nature of who it is, I don't think we need more than 24 hours to get our juices ready to play on Sunday.
All right, it'll be a 4 o'clock start there at Bowling Green. Certainly encourage all Findlay fans to get up there for that one. Should be a good opportunity for the Oilers up in Bowling Green. If not, we'll have pregame about 3:40. Well, for the coach, Charlie Ernst, I'm Jason Granger. You've been listening to Center Court.
Tommy, left side, little stutter step, driving the lane, scoop the hoop, left hand, got it again.
Thank you for listening to Center Court with Charlie
Once
Ernst.
the screen, he'll go the other way, find A.O. Aaron from downtown, got it. The Moose is loose.
Join us every Tuesday night during the season for your connection to Coach Ernst and Oiler men's basketball.
Oilers win it, and what a game here in Troy, and a tremendous victory for the Orange and Black.
This is your home for Oiler men's basketball, 88.3 WLFC.